2024 presidential election is fewer than 2 weeks away, and we're all holding our collective breaths. I personally haven't slept since June. Here to give us his perspective on the neck-and-neck race between the candidate and the conspiracy theorist is former New Jersey governor and ABC News political contributor, Christie. Welcome back. So, Chris, before we get into anything else, I want to know if you have anything to say about our conversation. Do you want to weigh in on it?
Well, I thought the screw you thing was great Jersey way to end the segment.
Well, that's
that was
Brooklyn.
really good.
That's Brooklyn.
You know, we're going to adopt her for that one. No, look, I do think that the coverage that you were talking about, I think the reason for it is he's numbed us.
Yeah. He's numbed us.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 9 years of relentless lowering and lowering of the bar, and after a while, everybody becomes numb, and most particularly the people who spend a lot of their lives on this. You know, a lot of the American people kind of dodge in and out of political conversation, and but for people like all of you sitting around this table, like me, who do this for a living, you've been relentlessly hit with his language for all that
have
time.
At least fact-checked along the way, because all of these lies have accumulated since he came down on that escalator.
So here we are back on The View today. You know, if you've been watching my channel, that this is one of my favorite shows to comment on, because this panel of Yentas is completely infected with a very bad case of Trump derangement syndrome. They've been hating on Trump since 2016, since he came down the golden escalator, as Joy Behar of The View just mentioned. And I always love to go on to watch the Yentas yapping and watch their trained SEALs in their studio audience clapping mindlessly at the non-points that they make. And here today, as you can see, they have former New Jersey governor, I believe, Christie on, who is kind of being the voice of reason on The View. I believe he's an anti-Trumper. But he's trying to keep the ladies on track, which, as you'll see, is not so difficult. It's not so easy.
Look, as a matter of ethics, yes, but I will say that the fact checking that goes on at times helps him, because for those people who feel aggrieved, they feel like, oh well, they're just picking on him. And I think the last thing we need to do in these last 10 days is to make him more of a martyr than he is already. And so,
By not fact-checking him? His supporters.
But I mean, I think that at this point, the people who know that he's a liar, they've already made up their minds. You know, they've made up their minds of where they're going to vote. The people who don't believe, or actually do believe everything that he says, you're not going to change their minds either.
What about those undecideds?
Those undecideds, I really don't believe the undecideds are making the decision on Donald Trump.
There's people, Chris, who have Trump amnesia, that have forgotten, because for 4 years we've had a decent man and a decent woman as his vice president in the White House, who don't talk this way, who don't say these things. And I think that some people have forgotten. And to me, it's important to remind them, because for some people, it does matter.
I just don't think those people are going to vote, Anna.
What about
If they
first-time
have that kind
young
of
people?
amnesia, they're not going to vote. And for the first-time voters...
I would have liked to forget him.
Yeah, I think that what's going on here is it's all up to Vice President Harris. The people who have, at this point, 10 days out, not already decided they're voting for Trump, they're not voting for Trump.
Yeah.
They're either voting for Harris or they're not voting.
Well,
And so, for me, that's why I think that what the vice president's doing now should be focused exclusively on closing the deal about why she would be the best president.
Well, there we go. I mean, he raises a point which other people have been saying, and in fact, shows like The View have been trying to get out of Kamala Harris. They've been giving her these softball interviews and asking her that very question. The View itself, I did a video on it, asked her, you know, what would you do that's any different? You know, what would you do that's different from Joe Biden? And what did she say? She said, Kamala Harris said something like, oh, well, can't really think of anything. It was pathetic. And he, rightly, I agree with this guy, you know, regardless of how he votes or how he feels about Trump, I agree with him. If she wants to have a chance, then she needs to stand out. She needs to distinguish herself from Joe Biden and his administration. And Joe Biden, you know, basically went out. I mean, he's disappeared. We haven't even heard about him ever since he dropped out of the race. It's like he never existed. But she needs to differentiate herself from him. It should be, I mean, from the Democrat point of view, from the leftist point of view, it should be easy because, after all, Trump's a Nazi. He's a fascist. He's a pig. He's a misogynist. He's all the bad things. He's a racist. He's this. He's that. He's Hitler. So it couldn't be easier, right? Democrats should be a piece of cake to easily stand out, not only from Trump, which is what he's saying. Well, he's saying she doesn't really need to do that, but more importantly, of course, to stand out from what Biden did. And what did Biden do? God, I can't even remember. But not much good, really, did he? It should be very easy. It should be very easy to be her own person. But of course, that's the problem, because she can't stand out from Biden, because she's not her own person, because she's barely even a person from what I can see. She's like an automaton.
Saying that Donald Trump is awful and a fascist and all the rest of that, I don't disagree with any of it. But those people are already sold. So if you believe that, they're sold. It's done.
So who do you think is going to win? Who's going to win?
Look, 10 days ago, I would have told you that she's going to win.
And now?
And I think she's had a bad 10 days.
Why?
Because I don't think there's advantage and disadvantage to having come in the race as late as she did. The advantage is she didn't have to go through all the primaries and go through all of that goes on that wears you down a bit. But the disadvantage is people don't know her. I mean, yes, look.
She's been the vice president for almost 4 years.
You know,
How could they not
Sonny,
know
you
her?
know the old joke. A woman had 2 sons.
Yes.
One went to sea, the other became vice president of the United States. Neither were ever heard from again. I mean, the job of the vice president is to stand 3 steps behind the president, out of focus.
Well, then
they didn't know.
Then why did they keep accusing her of not doing anything when she was vice president? What did Mike Pence do, I'd like to know?
Nothing.
What are they clapping about? Yeah, nobody's accusing her of doing nothing as vice president. Nobody hears about the vice president when they're vice president, obviously. I'm sure anti-Kamala types, Republicans and stuff are not saying, oh, she's useless. We never heard from her when she was vice president. Well, maybe they are, but it is a dumb argument because vice presidents are by definition invisible. But of course, the trained seals in the audience are clapping this very incisive and cutting point that Joy Behar has just made.
Look. But see, I think that's part of. I think that's part of the problem too with the vice president. I think one of the things that she needs to say when they're blaming her for certain things that were the president's decision.
Right.
I had a lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, most of the time I didn't ask her, like, "Are you think I'm right on this or not?" I mean, she gave her input. I made a decision.
Yeah.
It's my decision, not hers.
Right.
Yep.
So I think Vice President Harris should say, and she didn't say it here. I watched you guys that day when you asked her, what would you do different than Biden? She didn't say it. I gotta believe there are things she disagreed with him on. You're human beings. You're gonna have.
Well, they've had
she's a bright woman with a mind of her own.
Yeah.
She's clearly gonna have times where she looked at President Biden and said,
They've
I
had a
wouldn't do that.
successful
Say
administration,
it.
though, and she's not going to throw him under the bus. But
there's
I
a
want to
difference,
ask you-
though, Sonny, between throwing somebody under the bus and saying,
And
I had an
defending
honest
it.
disagreement with him on X, whatever it is. Because you can have an honest
could've
disagreement with
invested
someone
more
you have
time in
enormous
this.
respect for.
Why
No
not?
big
Why
deal.
not just say
Compared
something?
to the other side, that's nothing.
But the point is, you've got these undecided voters,
Yeah.
right? I don't count you as one of them. You have these undecided voters, right?
I hope you're not one of the undecided
Look,
voters.
these undecided voters have to make their decision, and it's not going to be on whether they hate Trump enough. It's going to be, if they're undecided, that means they don't want Trump. They've known him for 9 years. So they're trying to decide, can I count on her
So
or not?
you're saying they're leaning towards Kamala?
Let me
I think they, by
they're open to
definition,
Kamala.
they're open to
Yeah.
her. She's got to close the deal. And that's why I think, even now, 10 days out, it's too early to say someone or the other is going to
Listen,
win.
there's a lot of the
Those
vote-
late breakers are
Let me ask
usually
you
the
about
ones that
strategy,
go
though. Let
to
me
the
ask you about
challenger.
strategy because
Yeah.
she was in Georgia last night. She's got to win Georgia, right? We saw President Obama on stage with the vice president. Bruce Springsteen was there, Spike Lee, Sam Jackson, Tyler Perry. I mean, it was star-studded.
Oh my God, I love watching American political campaigns from afar. If you've been watching this channel, and if you have, please like and subscribe right now if you haven't already done so. I really appreciate it. So yeah, if you've been watching this channel, you know that I'm an American. I was born and raised in the United States, but I've been living in Europe, in an unnamed Western European country, since 1990. I've been living in Europe since about 1988, in fact, but in this country since 1990. And watching American political campaigns, these national campaigns, it's just, it's literally like watching the circus. I mean, when you grow up with it and you're imbibed, you're drenched and surrounded by it. It's part of your culture, and it happens. It just seems normal. But when you're away from it for years and then you watch it from time to time, it's just such a circus. It's so cringe. Just the whole thing is so cringe making. So watching these things, they have these big rallies. They wheel out celebrities. They wheeled out Obama. Bruce Springsteen, the ultimate boomers. The boomer favorite. Et cetera, et cetera. It just makes me laugh. It's hard to explain how you see this when you're through I feel like a non-American now, having been away for so long. It's just,
Get out the vote for the vice president. It seemed to really, though, be the strategy was this is a fight for our future, and she was honing in on what an untethered Trump presidency would look like. With Georgia being this sort of must-win state, you're saying, though, that's not the right strategy. She should talk more about her policies?
Yeah, I don't think it's the right strategy. I think if 9 years in, you're still undecided about Donald Trump,
Exactly.
what else are you going to hear? Like, what is, with all due respect to her, what is she going to tell me in the last 10 days? Somebody's going, oh, I didn't know that about Trump. Oh, heck, now I'm not going to vote for him. That's not it. She's got to close the deal for her because she's a lesser known quantity. And you said, well, people knew Joe Biden. Yeah, but Joe Biden's been in office for 50 years.
She's been putting out her policy ideas. He has a concept of a plan. Don't they hear that?
Well, and obviously, I think some do. And I think her job is to say now, what is her presidency really going to be?
She has 8
And the other night on CNN.
On a website.
Like, look, and yes, but most people aren't going to go and look at that, Sonny. You know that.
I looked at it.
It's going to be, well, you're not most people.
We're doing here what Charlemagne the God was talking about yesterday. We are holding her to this high standard of her closing message needs to be this and this and this and that. His closing message is Arnold Palmer's package.
Right.
Yeah. Dancing for 39 minutes like a wacko job.
It was generals.
You're making fries and McDonald's, so why don't you tell him something? Why don't we talk about his closing message? What do you think about that?
oh my God, these women on The View. How does this guy put up with it? What point was she just trying to make? It's ludicrous. The whole point, the guy's been trying to say, don't talk about Trump. Trump's been in the public consciousness for the last 9 years, and there's nothing more to be said about him because everyone knows who he is. He doesn't hide who he is. He makes it very clear. And if you like that, you'll be voting for him. And if you hate that, you already won't be voting for him. And then she's just going on and on. Yeah, all he does is, I have concepts of a plan. Whatever. The guy said, don't do that. He keeps trying to get his point across that Kamala needs to stand out, to promote what her plan is, and to do it in a way that's not a bunch of word salad and not a bunch of nonsense. But of course she can't do that because she is an empty shell.
What I think about that is that he is who he's always been, and he's not going to gain any voters in these last 10 days.
That's the point. I mean, you don't want to talk about his.
No.
You're spending all this time
It's not that I don't want to talk about it.
Kamala.
I'm not criticizing.
I'm about to say something so chauvinistic. It's like having a fight with your wife. She's complete. You're criticizing me. Why did you say that? No, that's not what I'm saying. It's like he was giving advice on how she could improve her campaign if she wants to win, and this woman's taking it personally. Personally, of The View, I mean, Whoopi, of course, is insufferable. This one, too, what's her name? Ana Navarro, I think, is just so insufferable. Just so obnoxious. The other ones, yeah, we can have a conversation with them. But Whoopi and this one, Navarro, are just the worst. This guy, kudos to this guy for even appearing on this show. It would drive me absolutely crazy. I would not be able to put up with it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do like and subscribe. Really helps me grow the channel and continue making content for you.